Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Christina Thompson, joined by Patrick McEnroe here. Today is National Day of Prayer. It's an annual day of observance in the first Thursday of May, designed by the United States Congress when people are asked to turn to God in prayer and in meditation.
And joining us now for the meanings and the methods, Father Gerald Murray, the managing director also of the Coalition for Jewish Values, Rabbi Yaakov Menken, and of course Tudor Dixon. By the way, Tudor, twins here too, and we all have girls apparently, so there you have it.
Which National Day of Prayer is important when you have teenage girls.
Father, what's the message? Let me start with you to our viewers watching at home today.
The message is that God is good and we need to turn to him. And, most Americans are religious. The overwhelming majority believe in God. So today's a day to practice that faith actively. And I think that's important because we have so many challenges in our country. We have warfare, Ukraine, Sudan, other places, really things that are beyond man's power to control. How do we bring peace to the world, to our families, to our nation? So turning to God in prayer is a recognition that we depend on him and that he's good.
And Rabbi Menken, research shows the incredible benefits that prayer has on our brain and our stress levels, but so does meditation. So and I know that Patrick, you and I were talking that you also have, you and your wife have experience in that as well, so you can speak on this too. But first, Rabbi Menken, how do you recommend people start praying if they never have, or if they don't know what the word means?
You're asking a very good question about if you don't know what the words mean, because in Judaism we do generally pray in Hebrew, but it's perfectly acceptable to pray in English. Pray in a language you understand. The most critical thing is to pray. Actually, Judaism also has us praying 3 times a day because it's worthwhile to have that constant recognition. What differentiates prayer from simple meditation is that you are talking to your creator. There is a recognition that we are not alone here and that somebody is watching us. Our behavior, our character is different when we know people are watching us and we're on stage rather than when we're private in our own room. Well, one of the things Judaism teaches is you're never quite alone. When you recognize a creator God who is watching over you at every time, at every moment, it's important to maintain that relationship and think about how you're going to behave the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's an important words, Rabbi. Thanks for that. Tudor, now the freedom of prayer, of course, the freedom of speech, as we know, is protected by the Constitution. How important is that right, especially now in the times that we're in for Americans?
Oh, it's incredibly important. Right now, we are seeing Christians under attack. We're seeing Jews under attack. We're seeing Muslims under attack. And religious persecution is really something that can become a serious problem in any country. And that's why we're so blessed in the United States to have that freedom. Now, you've seen a lot of folks come out and say, we want Christians to step away from government. We don't want prayer in government. We don't want prayer in schools, separation of church and state. Really, that was meant to protect people who want to be able to have their religion. It's so that the state can't come in and say you have to have a certain religion. So folks need to remember that when that's important to somebody, when that's their faith, you need to allow them to express their faith because that's in the Constitution and we have the right to do that.
Patrick, I know that you were raised Catholic. I was raised a mixture of Catholic and Protestant. But what's so kind of cool to me is, because I also played sports, is a lot of athletes, a lot of times you see them, if they have a major win or just a really good thing happen, they thank God or they send up a prayer just so that the entire audience knows. What's been your experience with athletes thanking God during their sport?
You know, it is interesting, especially in tennis, my sport that I come from. You see a lot of the players right after the match, even right before the match, do a little prayer. Whichever God they're praying to is really up to them. As we've heard from the rabbi and from the father, it's a personal decision for each of these athletes, for each of us as individuals. So you see the mix, and again, you have the freedom as to who you are to handle it the way you want to handle it. But we see it a lot in the sports world.
Yeah. Tudor, do you have anything you want to add?
You know, I think that the sports world is interesting when you think about what happened to Tim Tebow and you look at how he was persecuted for his religious beliefs. And we've seen now pushing back on that. In schools, we've seen the football coach who was reinstated. So we've seen this pushback.
Leading the team in prayer, on the field. Yeah.
That's right. And so I think that that's just something that we know it's protected, but we're going to have to keep fighting for it. And it's important for our evangelicals to go out and vote for that exact reason. We lose the evangelical vote, they just don't come out because you have to help us protect the freedom to practice your religion.
I always love this moment in the NFL, the football games, when the players, beat each other up. It's the most aggressive, violent game there is out there. And at the end of the game, there's always those individuals
that
you
see it right
out.
There on the screen.
They come out together. They're teammates. They're playing against each other. They come out for that moment, and it's up to them to decide if they want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Father Murphy, can you talk to me a little bit how in our everyday lives we can incorporate prayer more often?
Well, you can say formal prayers. You can stop in a church and pray. You can also do what's basically an ongoing meditation, which is that you think about God as you're working, as you're with your family, saying little prayers to him. One of the helpful things is to do a little Bible reading in the morning and then to try to meditate upon that reading during the day. There's so many ways that we can focus our attention on God. And in doing so, we give a new motivation to our activities. You mentioned the athletes who are praying. They're very grateful that they have athletic talent and that they're able to earn their living that way. And I am very inspired by them. I was a Navy chaplain for 11 years. I know how much the troops depend on chaplains and prayer, particularly when they're in war zones. So remembering God is good. As the rabbi said, he sees us and he loves us, so we have to love him in return.
And Rabbi Menken, really quick, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers today?
Hey, well, it's really interesting between Patrick and Tudor that the name Coach Kennedy didn't come up, because he's a perfect example of a man who had to go through great trials to preserve his right to simply pray on the field after a game. It's very important, as Tudor was saying, that we have to protect that right for all Americans.
Right, and he won his case, thankfully. Father Murphy, Rabbi Menken, Tudor, and Patrick, thank you so much for joining me today.